if you don't need a helper, you can hire a robot. Just press the button and you do whatever you like. Do what you're ordered on. But again, if you hire a helper, there is an under-employment contract that you already knew and you already signed it. And before you sign it, I believe that you already read it and understand it. So I do hope out there, employer who's still exploiting the helper, please try to amend it. Nowadays it's not easy to get a good helper. It's the same, we also not easy to get a good employer. Stop being double standard on yourself. Yeah. Actually, the biggest problem is because you put yourself as a double standard on yourself until you did not respect of others or you care for others people's feelings to fit your selfishness. Yeah. Let me share about this. Why I mentioned about double standard? After the breakout of the COVID-19 through these 2 years, actually lots of things that happens in between employer and the helper and the changing of the environment, including the working environment in our place. This is we are doing a domestic duties. Since my video went viral, a lot of the employer getting so worked up, some of them, but some of them also taken it positively and some of them just taken it just like a joke. Some of them taken it just like creating a fire. But again, it should not to be offended by for someone that is really don't mean for nothing, because some of the employer, if they already good employer, they already obeying the rule and they didn't have any double standard on themselves, they could not feel offended on my video. But again, I could not control anyone out there for the reaction and the responses. Why I keep repeating it? If I stop speaking about double standard, speaking about the rule, speaking about the right of the helpers, that will be stopped like that, will be stopped there, then no one could spoken, because there is a lot out there unspoken stories, untold stories that being not exposed outside because they afraid of damage the relationship and losing their job because of the speaking up and stand out for themselves. Okay, well, just like this afternoon, I saw the comment. Everybody was dropping the comment. Some of the employer very unkind when telling the truth is something like a pinch of salt to they are wound. But again, I do apologize it, and I'm so sorry if you feel offended. I don't mean to offend you, but you feel offended by yourself. You should to ask yourself, when you put yourself in our shoe, it will never be. It's the same. We won't put ourselves at your shoe too, and will never fit. Because there is no such of thing. We are helper here, trying to blend with the situation, trying to bend ourselves to be a good worker and try our best to serve you. We are here because we are valued, because we are worth, because we are required to be here. But some of the employers see us nothing, see us just like a fool, and see us even stupid because they see us lower class a worker. Do you know that we have an employment contract, we have the policy, we have an ordinance here that's according the ordinance is from your own country. Why it should be? That's showing that Hong Kong actually most of the country that care so much for the helper. They are being clear enough to the regulation. They are being clear enough to the ordinance that make sure the helper understand their right. But again, when come out to the double standard personality, those regulation will just only piece of paper. Because they only think of themselves. They think themselves too high and they've forgotten about running out the time. And most of double standard personality, they are forgotten that someday when they have run out of the time and they're facing for the death, they could not walk into their own coffin. They forgot one thing this. Don't say about the death and the life. When you are paralyzed, you need someone to take care. You need them here. You need them to be here to handle which one you need for. So actually, helper is an extended manpower that you need most now. Yes, you could hire a best one, a worst one, or the good one. That's beyond on your criteria. But again, you can't force someone to work for you unless you respect them as a worker too. If you respect them as a worker, I don't think so they would rejected your vacant. But if you just only think that's on your standard, other people don't have standard, even your helper. So how could you accept for that's people working for you? There is no one. Please be mindful on your attitude, because employer attitude will affect and reflect to your helper attitude. If you wish your helper respect you, you also have to respect them too. Again, some of the employer will be saying that why you always playing on your phone? And my helper is a good one because she doesn't play their phone during the working hour. Come on, wake up, okay? This is not because you allowed them or did not allow them, but this is bonding on a trust. When you trust that person, when you put on a responsibility on her, what is the main duty, what is supposed to do when you are treating your helper like an adult, they will try their best to make up the decision how to divide their own timing. And I do believe if you also given an example and you given the moral support, if you are employer that's obeying the rule and also treating them good, I do believe they also treat you good. But again, if you keep on mentioning yourself, you are double standard on yourself, you keep mentioning that I am employer, I am your employer, and you are only a helper. Those words, that means you cut the ties of the boundaries. You already cross the line. You already hurting someone feeling, hurting someone thoughts that you never know, or even you just think that you are deserved to be treated like that. Please be mindful on your attitude, because if the employer having this kind of attitude and you get you expect your helper being good, you also have to be a good attitude. You also have to be a good person in yourself first before you ask from your helper. Even yes, of course, that's beyond luck, and there is a good luck and the bad luck. Even maybe you just treat your helper a good way, or just treat them a good way, and then they betrayed you. Why it's happened? Try to reflect yourself. Did you ever do in the past? Okay, we could not amend the past, but at least we could amend the future. Nowadays, this time, still a lot of the employer always saying that you are a helper, you are the one here that's only a lower standard than us, you are not deserved to be treated a good way, you are not deserved to be this, to be that, and whatever. You are not deserved even pretty on yourself, or freeing on yourself, or meeting with your friend or whatever. Or even you just tell your helper yourself that you are poor, you came from the poor of the country, so that's why you came to Hong Kong. If you didn't like it, you can go back to your own country. Come on, stop it. Did you remember that ever 2 years ago, there's a breakout of the COVID-19 suspended the flight from the overseas, from the Philippines and Indonesia? How do you survive? How did you survive without a helper? Come on, try to recall it back. I'm not trying to defend myself here because I got nothing to lose. You always telling me to go back to my own country. I am telling you, I am still planning to go back my own country. It's of course because I'm not staying in Hong Kong forever. I am going back to my own country for sure, because Hong Kong is just only being a part of my journey. Nothing. I am not gonna to stay in Hong Kong for life, because I still love to stay in my country for sure. I have my family. It's not only me, I guess everyone's here. Don't you think that everyone's here would like to stay forever? If you know, maybe some of the helper working for more than 20 years, working for more than 30 years, they're staying in Hong Kong. It's because the employer treat them good. It's because they find some of the second family here to get their bonding, to get their trust. They feel like home. So that's why they could stay here. And the employer itself also understand that they need them to be here. They need them because they treat them like their family or their friends. But if you wish them not to stay, then you have to learn how to pack yourself. Again, I could not generalize it because some of the employer also good, some of the employer also very unkind. That's who feel offended. That's surely those very unkind person. And I don't want to say how many percent are there. Okay, this is ask yourself. So I could tell that stop double standard on yourself. Please be mindful to your attitude, mindful to your word, and mindful when you drop the comment, because that will see your attitude and even seeing your standard. When you are a good person, you don't need attitude, but just show your standard. This is what I believe. When you have a standard, you don't need to show your attitude to them because you have standard. Attitude and standard, that will be the same degree. While you know your value, while you have your worth, you understand that you deserve better. And you also have to understand that if the helper find that maybe working in your place is very uncomfort, it's because you disrespect her, it's because you disvalue her. She got the right to defend themselves. They got the right to stand out for themselves. If you are so mean, if you are so cruel to her, she got the right to say so. She got the right to say no to you. And even you, stop being double standard. Stop always discarding to your helper. Stop always disvalue them, which is actually you still need them. Try to admit and try to accept the fact that actually we need each other. Why is it so difficult to admit that you need a helper here to help you to cope up with your daily based work, because you have to cope up with your working environment itself. You need to work to your office, you need to take care of your kids, but you could not, so that's why you need an assistant here. Your kids need someone to be assist. You have to learn how to accept it. This is the fact that you could not change. Whatever your level status, whatever your social status, but if you still need a helper, it means you still need each other. You still human being. If you don't need a helper, you can hire a robot. Just like press the button and you do whatever you like. Do what you're ordered on. But again, if you hire a helper, there is an underemployment contract that you already knew and you already signed it. And before you sign it, I believe that you already read it and understand it. So I do hope out there, employer who's still exploiting the helper, please try to amend it. Nowadays it's not easy to get a good helper. It's the same, we also not easy to get a good employer. But again, we have to try to reflect ourselves and mutual understanding much more. That you have to communicate well and communicate to yourself as well. Being good person is for whole life, but being a clever person just for one night. Just remember, keep learning and keep growing, because learning is for whole life. But for being a good person, that means it's not always being a clever, but clever is always good. Okay?